This is episode number 406 of the Health and Fitness podcast, brought to you here by InnerFight, sponsored by Smith Street Paleo. If you listen to show 400, you'll know why we always ask you to rate and review the podcast. It's because we want more people to listen, and we will reward you. I was going to say Andre will give you something free, but Smith Street Paleo will give you something, a nice treat, if you hop over to iTunes, rate and review the podcast. And remember, guys, if you are unable to find it, just go to the website, or if you want to give the show to a friend, innerfight.com/podcast, and then the show number. So this one /podcast 406. If you want to share it with your less technically minded people, it's also on YouTube and on Stitcher. Do you know what Stitcher is?
I do.
Do you?
I actually know that a lot of the big podcasts, they run through there.
Yeah.
But I've never used the platform, actually.
Do you know why that is?
No?
Because it's an Android platform.
Ah.
It's
Also,
like iTunes.
Also for the podcast, we put our trailer out every week, so you can quickly see if that's something for you or not, and that's to be found on the InnerFight Instagram on your MJD_Smith.
Yes.
And mine, Andre Ude. Very simple. Oh, yeah.
Mate, this is... Everyone's like, what's going on? This is actually the first time we have had an author on the show.
Yes.
I'm so stoked. We're
400 shows.
400 shows in, and we've just been speaking to... Actually, Brian McKenzie wrote a book, but I'm not sure if he wrote it before or after we interviewed him. I want to welcome to the show the author of this book, which you guys all have to buy. I'm holding it up for YouTube. It's called You Got This. It's available on Amazon. Deborah Madelaine. Do I say it in the nice French accent?
Yeah. Almost.
Andre, you say it in your French accent?
Madelaine.
Madelaine.
Very good. Très bien.
But I'm not really good at French anymore. You're from France. I'll call you Debs because that's easiest. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from France. I've been in Dubai for almost 3 years. I'm originally a packaging scientist. Have you ever met a packaging scientist before?
No.
Why don't you explain that for a second?
Yeah. So you see the bottle of water you have here?
This Volvic one?
Yeah.
Shameless plug for my sponsor. Yes. Okay. So we've got a bottle
So
of
this is packaging. So you need an engineer, a scientist behind it to make sure, the compression in the truck is so that the bottle doesn't collapse when it's transported. You also want it to make it easy to drink from, right?
Wow.
So this special cap was all engineered by packaging scientists.
Wow.
Basically.
Not you, though.
Yeah, making sure it goes well in the factory so there's not too much waste. It goes quickly on the filling line, and it looks good for you. So that's kind of what it is.
What part of it, what you've just said there is very scientific.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it is science and how much of it was what you last said and it looks good?
Right. So we try to find a sweet spot between desirability, so it's attractive to the user and the consumer, and feasibility, which is the technical side,
right,
the factory side, and viability, which is the cost side of things, because you need to make sure it makes sense also from a cost point of view. So we try to find a sweet spot between the three elements.
Now, mate, you like health and fitness. I like health and fitness. So it's pretty obvious why we're in the health and fitness and how we got into the health and fitness industry. Debs, how does someone become a packaging scientist? It's not like I've ever heard of it at school before.
I know, right?
What's the story?
Yeah. So what happened to me? So my story is only my story, right? It's it's not true for every packaging scientist. But I wanted to be a pilot.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the best show.
This is going to be interesting.
This is the best show.
I wanted to be a pilot, and I went to the Air France contests. That was 10 days after 9/11. So the industry was not really sure what's going to happen with planes and pilots, and I failed the contest anyway. So I went back to my school, and I was looking at what are my options. So they had this nice little book where you can see all these kind of scientific schools you could do.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do engineering, core engineering. I wanted to do something more artistic.
Yeah.
So I looked at sound engineering, light engineering, and I saw packaging engineering, which I thought that's cool because it's like design, art, and then science. So that's how I got in.
But how do you become
Yeah.
packaging engineer?
So I got into this packaging school. There is a packaging school.
No way.
Yes.
In France?
In France.
I knew there was something weird about French people. Do we have these in England? Probably. I better shut up.
Some form of it, probably. But yeah, it is a very unique school in Europe where they
Wow.
teach you everything about materials, plastic, metal, wood, paper, corrugated board,
Wow.
everything. Like all the
Wow.
machinery. They teach you design.
So is it like a bachelor in
It's a
engineer?
master.
Okay, so you first have to have a bachelor to become an engineer, and then you become you have a master in packaging.
Yes, I have a master in packaging science.
That is unbelievable.
That's unreal.
And I thought I had a weird degree because I have a degree in sport and leisure management.
Okay.
And when I did that at uni, everyone's like, "You're not going to study business." I'm like, "No, I'm going to study sport and leisure management." At the same time, coincidentally, at another university in England, they just launched a degree in surfing.
Okay.
It was when I was at university, like 97, 98. You could. Were you born? You could then. He wasn't.
4 years.
Weird.
No, 1998 or
Yeah,
98?
yeah.
Yeah, 4 years.
You were 4.
All right.
I was at uni. Oh my god.
I was 6.
Anyway, they launched a degree in surfing, and everyone's like, "Wow!" But this is crazy. I mean, when you look at this, though, like, I think we've probably mocked it a little bit too much already. But when you look at it, the science, like that, what you said at the start, like how the water comes, how it's this, how it's that, how it's the other, is something that maybe we just take for granted.
We do, yeah.
So talk to us about like how complex these things really are. Like this is just a simple bottle of Volvic water. So
I actually went to the factory where they produce it in France.
did you?
Yeah, I got to visit it with my school.
So did I.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Fancy,
cool then, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you could see how complex it is, right?
Yeah,
and how
it's mind-blowing.
fast.
It's
and-
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So when you graduate, you get a master's in this, which obviously is a lot of time and effort. What was your first job out of university?
So my first job, I really wanted to have my first job abroad because I had no family, no boyfriend. So I thought, why not go in a foreign country to get some experience? So I ended up in Germany in a pet food factory.
Wow.
Whoa.
Designing pet food
Pet food packaging.
packaging.
Yeah.
This is a wild story. I told you she was going to be a good guest, mate.
I don't know, but yeah. So you could imagine the smell, and all my friends were like, "What are you doing? Like, this is pet food. This is disgusting. Why don't you work at Volvic or perfume companies?"
Yeah.
But I just wanted to have an experience.
You're like,
in a-
watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me become the #1 pet food packaging scientist.
In the universe. So how long did you spend there in Germany?
Just 1 year, and then they sent me to the US for a year on a training program for a year, and it was amazing. I was at the pet food headquarters in the US.
Wow.
Just an amazing experience, and then I went back to France.
So what brings you? How do you end up in Dubai then?
Yes.
Let's go into that.
So at some point, I was a little bit bored by my job in pet food. I wanted to do more innovation work than just technical work.
Yeah.
So I applied for different jobs, and I got a call from Mars, the chocolate company, to work for them in the Netherlands.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, why not? And the products were, I was actually in charge of all the packaging development for the duty-free business. So everything you see in the airports, like the fancy packaging, the fancy M&Ms dispensers. So that looked cool and fun. So I thought, why not?
Talk us through that, because this has got even more interesting for me. Because the way that products are targeted, M&Ms towards children,
Oh my God.
I want to know all about it.
Yeah.
Because this is related to health and fitness, and I'm not sure if you're professionally allowed to
No.
tell us all of the secrets, but tell us all as much as you
I can tell you as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get these kids to fall in love with this packaging?
So we try not to, actually.
Really?
We are targeting the guilty parents in the airports.
No way.
I don't know if I should say that, but the parents are buying the gifts when they're on business trip and they want to bring something back to their kids.
Right.
But Mars has a very strict policy of not marketing their products to children under 12. So if you look at the advertisement for M&Ms, you never see any kids in it.
Really?
It's really the jokes are very for adults.
Wow.
So there's a policy, and I think Mars was one of the first companies to do that.
Wow.
And now more companies are doing that too.
That's pretty good. I guess cigarette companies have the same policy. They don't have kids on the front of packets.
And since last year, Mars has been working on removing these dispensers from the airports. Actually, they are very profitable. But we know that's the right thing. They know that the right thing is to remove them and bring more adult-like products.
So with that in mind, and I was completely wrong because I thought that you're developing packaging that screams out to the kids. How do you develop a packaging for an M&M, for a chocolate, that says to the parent, I want to buy that for my child?
Yeah, I don't. I can't answer that question.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a secret recipe to it. We just
Really?
come together in a room. We do a brainstorming.
Really?
We got the big guys from the company in it. We bounce some ideas.
Yeah.
Do you have like psychologists there and stuff like
No,
that
we
that can
don't.
sort of like, I don't know, not know how to manipulate people, but know like certain behaviors, the trends of, certain
it doesn't
targeted
go.
groups, or is it just like, oh, Deborah, I like yellow. Why don't we put yellow in the package?
Yeah, why is one flavor yellow, for example, in M&Ms?
So in M&Ms, you're talking about like peanut, chocolate, crispy,
Yeah,
different
is
colors.
it the peanut
right?
ones are
Yellow.
I don't really know that, but I heard somewhere sometime. No, I
So
know
that all goes back to the brand guidelines. Just like
Right.
you, an InnerFight brand, you have some guidelines on what colors you can use, what message you can distribute. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would be the same. It's historical. Yellow was the first color of M&Ms, I think, and it just
Are there certain within packaging? Are there certain guidelines of if someone sees black, they have such and such a reaction in the brain?
Yeah, so they are. It's very sensorial. So color is one, but also the texture is another
Right.
element. The easy opening, or how you interact with the product. So we try to look at like the five senses. There's even some packaging that you can scratch and smell, so you can smell
Wow.
the product. So colors, yeah, it has an impact. But mainly, if you have a very strong brand like M&M's or Cadbury with very iconic colors, you want to have like a big block of that color in the shelf.
In a fitness setting, like which products, like for example, if you come to InnerFight, when you enter, I mean, with your background, do you look at certain of the packages? Like, I don't know, can the packages of the, I don't even know, like the food we sell or other stuff like that, like what is in the fitness industry? Would there be need for a packaging scientist or engineer?
Yeah. Like how can we package the fitness
Yes.
industry better to make it more attractive?
Boom, that's what I was trying with
I'm
my
his
broken
translator.
English to say.
So let me reply in French.
Perfect.
I'll understand everything.
So for the fitness industry, I did a little bit of research in that, in having like healthier snacks. You want to have transparency. You want to see the product because you're not lying, you're not cheating. So you want to have a clear list of ingredients without any E number on your list.
Yeah.
And transparency is key.
That makes
And
sense.
the other thing I would add is consistency. What I see in fitness, you see a lot of small brands. They're all over the place. The branding has been done maybe by the intern, which is fine, but you need to keep some consistency with your brand. So when you come into the gym, you can see maybe a little stand with all the products. It makes sense altogether.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying now, what I'm understanding is like, okay, well, a coach is sort of a brand. How do we pack a coach in? So transparency.
You need to get a bit more muscle.
No T-shirt on. No, but like, you can sort of look at it as with people as well,
How
no?
do you package humans?
Like, can't that,
Fashion.
there can be, stuff like that. Haircut.
See,
like,
I'm wearing this T-shirt. It says I'm a prototype,
Yeah.
but I made it. It's my brand. It's how I want to come across with. It's my package.
yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
It's very...
Same with my hair. It's like part of my color branding.
It's pink, but it's not pink the whole way. That's your branding. Yeah, very interesting. Do you when you see things like that? What I'm actually asking here, you've worked obviously a lot in FMCGs. What do you see outside of the FMCG world, like how we personally package ourselves? Because this is a lot related to health and fitness, like people's decision to be in incredibly good shape or people's decision to be in incredibly bad shape. Do you ever link any of that to sort of your professional life?
Not directly, but it makes sense. And And like a brand, I guess you need to be true to yourself always.
Yeah.
And it's not only about attracting new friends or new consumers, but you need to be consistent with who you are.
With what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Let's go on to the book that you wrote. You wrote a book which was released last year.
Yes.
It's available on Amazon. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. So hop over to the show notes, innerfight.com/podcast406. Click on the link there. Go and buy this book for the following reasons. Tell us why we... Tell us... Well, let's start at the start, though. What made you think about writing a book?
Oh, that's a funny story. I had a friend who asked me to do a bit of drawings for him because I do a little bit of sketching, and he was writing a book on how to sketch think, so how to make visuals. When you have a meeting and you want to make some visuals on the board, and I have a little bit of training in that, so I helped him make these drawings, and he wanted to do a book. And 2 weeks later, I see my drawings in his book on Amazon, and he misspelled my name. He didn't tell me about it. I was a little bit upset, right?
Wow.
But I thought, okay, well, if he can do it in 2 weeks, I can write a book in 2 weeks too. That was my motivation. I know it's a bit strange, but it took me a year.
Well, that's not very long either.
I didn't steal anybody's work.
Yeah, who did you get to do the drawings for you?
Not saying. He will recognize him, maybe. Anyway, so this book is about the creative process that we use in FMCGs and to develop packaging, the creative process.
Can you translate FMCG exactly?
Fast-moving goods company. So like
Good.
Mars, Unilever, P&G.
Fast-moving good company.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fast-moving goods companies. Yeah, FMCG. Yeah,
Fast-moving
fast-moving consumer goods. Yeah.
Never heard that before.
That's because you're 12 years old.
That makes sense.
You don't need to know about it.
Yeah. No, but it's
Unless it's a CrossFit movement, it's okay.
It's everything that you see in the supermarkets is basically a fast-moving consumer good. It's exactly what it says. So
anyway,
cool.
so
we digress.
We did. I learned about this creative process when I was telling you I was in the US for a year on a training year with the pet food company, and they sent me to this conference called the Creative Problem Solving Institute. It's a 1-week training when you learn that you can solve anything with creativity. And it was so empowering that after that I kept using these methodologies in my work to solve business challenges, to solve packaging
Can
challenges.
you give us some examples of that? I think this will be super interesting.
Yeah. So let's see what example I could share. For example, we have, it's very business, bear with me.
We get that totally.
Yeah, so the company had to find $5 million of saving, for example.
Wow.
That was the target, and we were approaching the deadline, so we really had to come together and find some ideas. So we used this process to go through. So how does it work? First, you really need to understand what you're looking at, to understand the context. Before solving anything, you need to understand what you're trying to solve, right?
Yeah.
So we went through all the different expenses we had, and we saw where we had the most potential to save, like where were the biggest spending. And then we came together. We did a brainstorm, but it was like an organized brainstorm, not just people shouting at each other. So we had different stations where people could share their idea and rotate. And then we had a moment where so that was like the diverging part, and we had a converging part where we looked at all these ideas and chose the one that had the most potential based on some criteria. And then we gathered everything together and put an action plan together. Because an idea without an action plan is just not going to work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process to understanding what's your problem, to reformulating into a question that you need to solve, brainstorming, finding some ideas, refining these ideas, prototyping these ideas, and then having an action plan.
Exactly what people should do related to their health and fitness,
Yep.
and do not. True or not?
Exactly.
True.
So this methodology that I've used at work, I thought could be applied to life.
Yeah.
And that's what the book is about. It's about taking people through this process for their personal life and to solve their personal challenges or to accomplish their personal wishes. But first, they need to understand. The biggest part of the book is to understand what you're really trying to accomplish. If you want to get fitter, why do you want to get fitter? What's your
Right.
goal?
Yeah.
What is it really?
But what do you find that sometimes, related to that one, people don't know? So how do you find the answer?
Yeah, so in the book, there are some tools to help you find
I
the
noticed
answer.
there's loads of stuff. It's like a It's like I can draw in it and make it like there's loads of cool stuff to do and exercises.
Yeah, it's an exercise book.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you like paragraphs of the methodology. I'm taking people through it. So
What's the biggest game changer in this book? Like, what separates this book from all the other like action plan goal books? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess the emphasis is really on trying to understand why you're trying to accomplish something. I find a lot of books, you have a goal, okay, no, do it. Not you have a goal, so you have a goal, but now understand why you're trying to accomplish this goal, and it might change your game plan completely.
So in general, instead of having the biggest focus on the action plan, it has the biggest focus on
the why.
The why and the reason and the context and everything.
Yeah.
Very
an
cool.
example given the book is I ask people to write their wishes, and I write, okay, I wish to be a manager because it's cool. And then in the book, it ask yourself why a few times. Why do you want to be a manager? Well, because I like helping people. Why do you like helping people? Because it gives me a sense of value. So by answering this question this way, you might end up not being a manager and find something else that might be more useful or valuable to you.
I think a lot of people find like in our industry when we ask you, because we ask these people to our clients all the time when they come with their big goals, and it's almost like the most uncomfortable questions to answer. Like, well, why are you even asking that? Like, because you probably haven't even thought about it. Like, this idea, this goal was just put on you. Like many years ago, maybe you saw it on TV and you decided and you accidentally told a few friends, and now you feel obliged to do it, but really you don't actually want to do it, maybe.
Yeah,
and that's why people get so uncomfortable when you, like, it's just such an easy way to expose people.
Yeah, and I think people get very uncomfortable where it's like you said they'd have like, why? But why?
Yeah.
Like, how many times can you ask someone why before they want to punch you in the face? It's like a competition, isn't it? It's like someone comes in, I want to lose weight. Okay, why? Give me 10 reasons. Okay, and then they've done 10. Like, I want one more. Like, and they get to a point where like, why are you asking me this? But like you're saying, the point is so that we completely understand why, and then it sets us up better, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're gonna brainstorm, find solutions on a problem that you started with. But if you have the wrong problem, your solutions will not help you.
Is this something that, so a lot of what you've put in this book, if these questions that you sort of would ask when you're, let's go back to the original example, preparing a new Volvic bottle.
Yeah.
How many times would you ask why when you were making something like that?
Well, until I would be satisfied with the answer from my colleagues. But the tool says 5 whys. It's actually a tool from Toyota.
Really?
That they created a while ago to identify where the problems would come from. So they had a quality defect, and they thought if you asked 5 times why you had this quality defect, you would get to the root cause of the problem.
So we should be asking people
5 whys.
5 whys.
Yeah.
Do we have to credit Toyota with that? Or we can just pretend
I think we're going to lose some clients on that.
Yeah.
That might be dangerous.
Or at least the first 4 PT sessions are going to be why.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's something it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting how you've packaged it in there. Once you've finished that why process, where do we move to next?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different steps in this book. The first one is to understand your why, or why you're trying to solve this challenge. And then you're going to move into asking the right question to yourself.
Yeah.
So you're going to translate this why into a question. And why we do that is because it's easier to answer a question than just a wish. So how do I become a better fitness professional is easier to answer than just I want to become a fitness professional. Yeah. So it triggers the brain into action already, into ideas. So that's one thing we do. And then we start, since we have this question, we start brainstorming. And there are many, many different tools to do brainstorming. The one that I like the most is asking myself, what would Steve Jobs do? Or what would Matt Fraser do to answer this challenge, right?
Really?
So you get inspiration. The people are not in a room, but your brain is already, inspired somehow.
Yeah, because you have these views and stories of these people. Yeah,
what would your mom do? Or this kind of...
And that's the kind of questions that you'd use within a brainstorming session, is it?
Yeah.
Really?
So you'd be like, the head of Mars is in this meeting. You're like, what will your mom do?
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Yeah. It's a tool to.
This is super cool.
I'll drop this as our
It's just,
next meeting.
Creativity is fascinating. It's just about making your brain think in different ways, in different directions. Another tool is what would be the worst idea to solve this challenge. So you make your brain think about what would be the worst, because that's fun to do, right? And then you reverse it, and you have an extra solution that you can think about.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd almost go against what conventional thinking, and you'd think of like what's not the right thing, and then it'd be funny, and then you're like, okay, what's the opposite of that? It could be the right thing.
That could be a right thing.
Yeah,
so in this
interesting.
phase of brainstorming, we're really welcoming all ideas and using different tools. And after that, we'll select the tools that make sense. But at least we get inspiration. We're not, you know how we grow up in school and we thought there's only one good one solution to a problem.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's just not true.
There's a
there
number
are
of
many.
different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just got to choose the one you want to pursue.
So when it comes to the book, I have two more direct questions, and hopefully they lead to different things. Why did you call it You Got This?
Oh yeah, that's a really good one. It actually comes from CrossFit.
I thought so. Yeah. So how did you... And see, I knew this was all about health and fitness, this show. Tell us the link to CrossFit.
It's just when I moved to Dubai, I was doing...
Which was?
3 years ago.
Okay.
I actually found my apartment because I chose this one because it was close to a CrossFit gym.
Okay.
That was my criteria.
Solid.
Very cool.
So
Very good.
Respect.
Which was CrossFit
CrossFit
Duo in the Marina. Yeah.
In the Marina, yeah. And I had been off CrossFit for a while, so I wanted to go smoothly into it. So I had some semi-personal training sessions with Brianna. And I was so frustrated most of the time because I couldn't do things. And she was like, Deb, you got this, you got this. So that really stuck with me. And I would even tell myself, you got this, outside of the gym when I was frustrated.
Really?
So yeah, that was a natural title
so that's where it
for
came
this
from.
book. Yeah.
I had a feeling that's where it came from. I think it is quite a... We actually didn't even... Well, it's not an acronym. We did a show the other day on CrossFit acronyms. You know, AMRAP, EMOM and stuff. But that's one of the biggest things that we hear in CrossFit. You got this.
Probably.
Even when people don't. I reckon we bullshit people too much. It's like, I know you can't lift that, but you're going to try, and I'll say you got this anyway. So who should buy this book? Except everyone that's listening to the show. When you were putting it together, when you were brainstorming, putting it together, who was it aimed at?
So that's not the way I was thinking about it. Cause,
I didn't think it would be.
When you do something, you do it. I did it for myself.
Really?
I did it for myself, and I use the book. I have it in my bag, and I look at the tools when I need them.
No way.
And I think actually, it's when you do something, you need to do it for people like you first.
Yeah.
You need to target people think the same way as you, and then of course, when you meet more people will benefit from it. But I would say people that have goals and challenges that don't know how to get started, and that have the will to explore their creativity. Because creativity, for me, I call it creative confidence. Like any problems coming my way, I know how to solve it because I have this tool.
You have a tool.
Yeah.
How does someone go about having an idea, putting the book together, and actually being able to walk in here today with a book that sells on Amazon? Go to Amazon, put in You Got This, order the book now. How do you go from that idea and all of these different bits that you've got in here to actually having a physical book?
Yeah, so the first thing I did is I told my colleagues about it. I'm writing a book. So once you do this, there's no
Reaction?
way back. What? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You got this.
You got it. Yeah, I know.
And remember, I wanted to write it in 2 weeks, which was overly ambitious. But the ambition... I wrote the content in 2 weeks, but then it took a year to put it together, to make it look good, yeah? But the fact that I was so ambitious made me move probably faster than I would have if I told myself I had a year.
Really?
That's a really good advice. Generally, like set super high goals or targets, and then even you hit below, you'd probably still hit
and
way
share,
higher than your...
Yeah, and share your goals with your colleagues,
Yeah.
or not your friends. Your friends are always happy and.
So you went and told your colleagues, I'm going to make this book.
Yeah. And
what was their initial reaction?
Yeah, they were like, they didn't really believe me, I think, that's going to happen. They're like, yeah, because they know me. I'm starting a lot of things all the time. So that was just another thing.
Really?
But yeah, that was... and then it took a bit of discipline, I must say, to go to it every week. And there were some fun parts and less fun parts.
Sure.
Yeah.
And where do you print it? You print it here in Dubai?
Yeah, I did. I found a local printer to print it. And the good thing with Amazon is you put yourself as it's a self-published book.
Yeah.
So they will actually print it when Amazon will print it when somebody orders it. So I don't have any stock at Amazon.
Wow.
The stock I have here is just to show my book around.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that actually works super well. I mean, so you're self-published, so you don't have to worry about a publisher, and you just go and you just get it.
So anybody can do it.
That's amazing.
Maybe
That's
you
really
should do
cool.
it. Yeah.
Maybe I should do it. I am actually working on a book, but I don't think I'll finish it in 2 weeks, and I also don't think I'll finish it in the next year. So, Deb, at the moment, you're part of your bio that you sent me. I'm going to quote this. You're in a transition to find your next best job where you can use your creativity with purpose. Tell us where you're at in life right now. You've done some very cool things, and I'm mind blown by a lot of it. The book's amazing. Where are you at? What are you looking for? What's coming up?
Yeah, so last year I had a moment in life. I don't know if it's age.
How old are you?
35.
It's not age.
It's not age. But
I haven't had one yet.
And
I'm
I think
39.
I can thank Dubai for it. You know, Dubai is all of the extremes in consumerism and party. And it was so much that I almost got disgusted of it. And there's so many other good things in Dubai that I didn't see because I was partying and shopping.
Nice.
And then I realized that, and I started uncluttering my home and giving away to charity a lot of my stuff, maybe 40% of my stuff.
Wow.
And I felt so much better, so much closer to myself. And then I went back to work, and I was like, well, you know, is this part of my clutter? Am I not lying to myself?
It's my job cluttering my life up. How good. True though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, yeah, I think it is. So packaging science has been fun, but is it really who I am and what I want to do and how I can use my potential to the best for the world? Probably not. So I decided in July that I was not going to be a packaging scientist for much longer.
Really?
So it's
July of 2017?
Yeah, last year.
Just over 6 months?
Yeah, and I couldn't sleep for a few nights, and I had to tell my parents that all the education and experience I had was not anymore. So it was very scary, but so exciting. And I don't have the answer yet of what it's going to be.
Really?
But it's getting,
So if I said to you, what are you looking for? Like, what job are you looking for?
Yeah.
Do you know yet? Or
I have some ideas. It's gonna be around using creativity to empower people. Because, like this book, the power of creativity is just endless. Like it's creative confidence. Everybody should know about it, so they could solve problems. Like big, even political problems. And the other thing is to make people better humans. That makes sense.
Yeah,
so build
absolutely.
Empathy and understanding each other. I mean, in product development, we need to use it more, and I think you do that also in your gym and listening to your members. Yeah. And we need to do more of that to create better services, better products that really help people, not just push things through their throats.
Do you think that there's a lot of products that are just pushed on people just for financial gain? And
I wouldn't say put like financial gain, yes, but also a bit of laziness, because a lot of companies have these massive assets and factories that they can only produce one type of product.
Yes.
So they will keep on doing it without checking with their users if it's still relevant or not. And then they would push it with massive marketing campaigns
but
that would.
The users don't care anymore.
Well, a lot still do.
Yeah.
So I'd like to change that dynamic.
I have another question. When I was younger, my mum always used to tell me that I wasn't very creative at all. So I guess I believed her, and whenever something creative came up, I was not interested. Do you believe people are born with creativity, or do you develop it as you go?
Both. So you are born with creative. Everybody. So we're all creative. It's like a muscle, really. You can practice it. And the thing is, with school, we've been de-practicing it. Like school has really killed creativity, like completely.
Because we're told that we have to follow the certain syllabus.
Yeah,
and,
there's only so much knowledge, and there's only one solution to your problem.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to educate, but it kills creativity. And then when you're an adult, you think you're not creative, but you can be, really.
So I want to speak to those people that are listening to the show now that think they're not super creative and think they're unable to do this brainstorming and think that they're unable to answer the Andre's 5 whys or Toyota's 5 whys. What can those people, aside from buying the book, we know you have to buy the book, aside from buying the book, what can they do to, shall we say, get the creative juices flowing?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is listen to other people, like, truthfully.
Right.
You'll learn so much. It'll give you inspiration in your creativity, because if you stay in your own bubble, you only have answers that fit in your own bubble. But if you start listening to other people, to their stories, especially in Dubai, there's so many stories, so many different cultures, you can learn so much, and it can give you different ideas on how to solve problems. The other thing is be curious. So listening is one way to be curious, but also look for new things. The other day I went to a workshop on how to do media, like video storytelling for short films. I'm a packaging scientist. Why would I do that?
Why would you go there? Yeah.
But I learned so much and gave me a completely different perspective on how to do business in media industry that I can use for something else. So be curious, listen, and practice imagination. So like I said earlier, an example is, what would mom say? What would mom do?
Yeah,
what would Steve Jobs do? What would Mike Fraser do to solve this problem? So explore this imagination, listen to other people, like, truthfully, and be curious.
Very cool.
Another question I have, because this is where I actually met you, which was at an event called Creative Mornings. How do you, and then you just mentioned something else that you went to, how do you find, like, someone then goes, oh, that's all very well, but how do I find out? How do you find out about such things? Like, I know about Creative Mornings because James, we do the radio show together, but how does one find out where these sort of, I want to get my creative juices flowing, where can I go and get involved in stuff? Is there any sort of go-tos that you'd say?
Yeah, so my hack, my secret to these things is to go on Event Brite.
Yeah.
I've heard about that one.
Just go to Event Brite, and you'll find a lot of events. And once you start going to events, then you'll meet people that go to other events, and you start building your web like this. But Event Brite is just
there's so many events in that.
There's so many. So I would even challenge every people listening to this to go to Event Brite now and go to the event that's the most further away from their career right now, and check it out, just as a curious.
And a lot of those events on Eventbrite are free as well.
A lot of them are free, and you get snacks and drinks.
Yeah, do coffee at
They don't
Mornings,
mention
great.
that at all of them.
By the way, guys, I'm organizing an event.
Here we go.
Yes.
It's another good plug. We love it.
It's on Eventbrite. It's free. There will be lunch and snacks. There will be prizes.
How many friends can you bring?
You can bring as many friends as you want. There'll be prizes such as Canon cameras, so it's a really cool event. And what is it? And it will help you with your creativity. So it's a 2 days event. It's in the weekend.
Wow.
It's part of the Global Service Jam. So it's part of a global event. I think 90 cities in the world will come together in the same weekend to solve challenges for the world. So Dubai, it's on the 9th and the 10th of March.
Wow.
I will be in the design district in a really cool place at InnerFight Design. It's a really inspiring place, and you'll get together in teams, solve a problem for society. So it's a non-profit on a theme, and we'll help you go through it. So you'll go do some safaris while you interview some users to see what are their pinpoints and problems, and then you'll create a service and you'll prototype it, and then you can enter a contest to get a Canon camera.
We should do
That's
it.
really cool.
Yeah.
Hop over to Eventbrite and check that and all of the many things out. Deb, before we close, I've got 2 more questions to ask you. You have a website called magicdeb.com. It's called Magic Deb Building Creative Confidence. It is not your normal website. It's very different, as I would expect, and every blog post is a picture.
Yeah.
Talk us through what's going on here, because I think this is a place where people who are resonating with what you said And even those who aren't resonating and want to get the creative juices flowing and want to kind of be more creative in their thinking, in their life, in their health, in their fitness, we've learned a lot from you in the last 45 minutes. What can we learn on the website?
Yeah, so my website is just a collection of my journal entries. 2 years ago, I started a project on a journal, and it was about help me there.
Visualization.
Visualization of my life
Yeah.
through drawings in the journal. So every day I would make a drawing of my day. And it started just because I wanted to practice my drawing skills.
Wow.
And then I found out that I was drawing the same thing over and over. So I found out my life was boring. And actually drawing my life maybe triggered me to do more exciting things in my life. Can you imagine that?
So you've drawn every single one of these yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
And for a full year.
Yeah, there's like one every single day.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Guys, you have to hop over to the website, magicdeb.com. Deb has a lot to share with the world. Carry on. So you draw one every day.
Yeah, I found out my life was boring because I was drawing the same thing over and over. It triggered me to do more like exciting stuff in my life. And then after a year, I was happy just to put my pens down.
Really?
And write my book and do something
you did
else.
a year. You've got 360 posts in here.
I did, yeah. And
It's absolutely
it's incredible
insane.
the power. You know, if you start drawing your life or even having a journal,
Yeah.
it triggers your mind to think and reflect on your life and what
Yeah.
you want to accomplish in a more sustainable way. So I would encourage everyone to keep a journal, maybe not as extreme as this one.
That's incredible, yeah. But I think that's one thing that's very true. Like it's very easy to sit around and say, yeah, I'm lacking a bit of creativity, and there's such simple things you can do every day. There's the events, you can pick up this book, you can do some form of doodling, journaling, incredible artwork that you've done, or something to try and express yourself.
At the start, I had no idea it would be like this. At the start, I just wanted to practice, and I wanted to practice the letting go of my fear of failure. Because I had to draw, and I was a bit worried that I would make mistakes, and I had to let go of that. So for me, that was the main learning, was to just go with it and do something, and don't worry about if it looks good or not. And
incredible.
Looks really cool.
Thank
wow.
you.
Last question that we asked all the guests. Andre will hit you with it.
If you have one piece of advice that you've been given or learned throughout your life, what would that be? If you have to, that's okay too.
I would, the piece of advice, it would be, looking at your values, understanding your values, and driving your life through your values, really.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I think that brings everything that you've spoken about and everything that obviously we believe in, but how you've put it forward in your work, I think that's the truth. I think if you have those values, then everything that you're doing just becomes... Does it become easier? I don't know if everything
not
ever
easier,
becomes
but straightforward.
More
clear.
straightforward, more
yeah.
clear.
So there's less...
Deb,
mess.
you've been absolutely awesome. Thank you
you.
so much for taking the time. Guys, if you didn't hear, Deb has a book. It's called You Got This. You go to Amazon, you put in You Got This, you order it, Amazon print it, and then they send it to you. It's really straightforward. Get involved in her event. What's the name of the event?
Global Service Jam, Dubai Global Service Jam.
Dubai Global Service Jam. I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. Go to Event Brite if you want to get more creative. Everyone's got creativity. My mum was wrong. She told me I'm not creative. Hopefully she's not listening to the show, please. But you can get those creative juices flowing. Check out Deb's. You can see her Instagram, magic.deb. Hop over to her website. I'll put all these links into the show notes. But
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. We want to wish you all the best. In that statement that we heard, that you're currently in transition to find your next best job where you can use your creativity with purpose. You have to promise us one thing, is that when you get that, you'll come back and talk about it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys.
Merci
Thank you.
beaucoup.
Merci
Merci.
beaucoup.
À bientôt.
Et au revoir.